This is how farmers fight back against wild boars that have been destroying their land for months. Arizona, a harsh, arid land where water and farmland are both extremely limited. Yet somehow, wild boars have appeared here and are causing serious damage to the few usable areas that remain. Why are they choosing such a brutal environment? What are they searching for? And what makes them even harder to control compared to the places we dealt with before? That's exactly why I had to come here and start setting traps before the situation spiraled out of control. Today, I plan to place 4 traps at 4 different locations. I started with a homemade cage trap placed right beside an area filled with fresh rooting marks near one of the few remaining water sources. After securing the frame, I scattered bait around the outside and gradually led it deeper into the trap, creating what looked like a natural feeding path. Everything was finished before dark, and I pulled back to wait. As night fell, the wild boars finally appeared, following the scent of food and walking inside without suspicion. When we returned to check the trap, it had worked perfectly. Several wild boars were locked inside, reacting violently, but completely unable to escape. Next came another homemade trap, smaller in size, but reinforced much more heavily, placed in a wide open clearing near the forest edge. With very little cover around the area, everything had to look as natural as possible to avoid making the boar suspicious. After setting the trap and spreading bait early in the morning, we backed away and monitored from a distance. What surprised me most was how quickly it worked. By afternoon, the trap was already full. Not just 1 or 2 boars, but a surprisingly large number had been captured inside, packed tightly into the confined space, and creating a scene far beyond what I originally expected. Another trap set deep within a grove of casuarina trees had also been triggered. When we checked it, there's only a single wild boar inside, but it was a massive one, heavy-bodied and extremely aggressive. Even from a distance, it constantly paced inside the cage, desperately searching for a way out. But the moment we approached, it became even more violent, slamming directly into the metal frame again and again with tremendous force. The sharp crashing sound of metal echoed through the quiet forest, instantly creating a tense atmosphere. Even so, the trap held firm, keeping the boar completely contained. Finally came the trap placed deep inside the densest part of the forest, the area with the heaviest concentration of tracks, and the location I had the highest hopes for. Everything was carefully prepared before we left, leaving the trap alone overnight in the silence of the woods. As darkness covered the forest, the herd eventually appeared and entered the trap exactly as planned. By the following morning, we could already hear movement from inside before even getting close. The nearer we approached, the more agitated the boars became, thrashing wildly within the tight enclosure. It was immediately clear the trap had worked successfully, containing the entire group, just as I had hoped. After checking the traps, we began the difficult process of removing the wild boars. It was far from easy, as the animals constantly resisted and fought back. Every step had to be done carefully, with tight coordination to guide them out and load them onto the truck safely. It took a long time to fully control the situation, but eventually all of them were transported back to the collection point without incident. When everything was finally over, the area slowly returned to silence. Looking back across the land, I knew what we accomplished today was only a small part of a much larger battle. The wild boars may have been stopped for now, but the problem itself still remains, and I'll have to keep going. We are a rapid response wildlife control team operating in the state of Texas. The uninvited guests only show up after the sun goes down. They move in groups, tearing up underground irrigation systems and ripping through topsoil in search of roots. Yes, feral hogs. The ranch owner had tried everything, but these animals are too smart. They learn fast, they adapt, and they always find the weak point. That's when we get called in. First rule, shut down all current deterrents. No noise, no small cage traps, no hunting dogs. We need the sounder to believe this place is no longer a threat. The first location sits deep in the woods. Dense grass, limited visibility. At 7:22 p.m., the camera pings. The automatic feeder has done its job. A group moves in. I watch through the live feed. No other wildlife. No stray livestock. This is it. The gate drops fast. So fast they don't even realize they're trapped until it's already over. Then comes the chaos. Panic erupts inside the trap. Bodies collide. Steel echoes through the forest. For a brief moment, the entire area feels like it's shaking. And then, control. The second site is wide and open. Bait is concentrated at the center. At exactly 7:37 p.m., the second group arrives. This time, I have to be more careful. Open terrain means higher risk. If anyone or any vehicle passes through, I must delay the drop. But the area stays clear. Not a second wasted. I trigger the system remotely. Two 12-foot gates slam down in perfect sync. But the third location, that's the real test. A large sounder. They circle for a long time. The smaller ones enter first. The bigger ones stay out, watching, calculating. I stay locked in my seat, eyes fixed on the phone screen. Not a second away. My heartbeat rises. Breathing tightens. It takes until 2 a.m. Patience pays off. The entire group is finally inside, feeding under the soft glow of infrared. I send the command. The gates drop. Instant chaos. The sheer number of animals makes the steel enclosure shake violently in the night. But once the lock engages, not a single one gets out. What looks like a clean result in one night isn't luck. It's a complete shift in strategy. Phase 1 is always scouting and setup. We identify travel routes, habitual paths, and place monitoring stations discreetly. Once locations are confirmed, it's time to choose the trap. We don't do things the old way anymore. Too slow, too costly, too risky. We use modern modular corral systems. With this setup, one person can deploy rigid panels, lock them in place, and raise a 12-foot heavy-duty drop gate using a manual winch. All in under 20 minutes. The key is speed. The gate drops instantly. The goal isn't just to catch some, it's to contain all. Once the structure is up, we install the system. One automatic feeder inside, one solar-powered ice camera, mounted high from that moment on. Everything runs remotely, 24/7, through a smartphone. Anywhere, anytime. When a camera confirms the entire sounder is inside, one tap sends a signal. The gate drops immediately, and if a person or livestock enters the area, we delay. No panic, no risk. Everything is controlled down to the second. Wildlife control isn't about force or luck. It's about strategy, technology, and understanding animal behavior. With remote systems and real-time monitoring, we remove unnecessary human interference, ensure maximum safety for the surrounding environment, and solve the problem at its root. As a field coordinator with the Arizona Wild Boar Rapid Response Team, I have faced countless critical situations, but the chain of events that unfolded recently on the suburban edge still stays with me. Heavy steel structures shook violently. The ground trembled beneath the force of tons of muscle. It all began when cornfields were flattened, driving wild boars out of the fields and into residential areas. 8 a.m., an emergency video was sent to the control center. In the middle of a busy street, an aggressive wild boar suddenly charged out and attacked a pedestrian head-on. It was violent, terrifying, and unbelievably fast. After the dangerous animal was brought under control, our immediate assessment was clear. food sources in the nearby dry hills had likely been exhausted, forcing the boars down into the neighborhood in search of food. The situation was critical. I ordered all trail access points sealed and launched a full-scale control operation on the hillside above the town. Before any trap could be placed, the technical team spent hours tracking signs. Fresh hoof prints in soft mud, tree bark torn apart, deep rooting marks along the forest edge. Everything pointed to the presence of a large sounder. Once the movement route was confirmed, I authorized deployment of a hexagonal drop trap built with a reinforced steel frame. Size: 6.6 feet, 9.8 feet, built as a reconnaissance setup. To test reactions and estimate the density of the lead group. 11:24 p.m., the camera captured 2 boars, each around 88 pounds, entering the center zone. I immediately triggered the trap. The gate dropped. Both targets were secured cleanly. But through the infrared screen, I could still see larger shadows lingering outside the perimeter. They were too cautious to enter such a tight enclosure. We had moved too quickly. I changed tactics. This time, a box trap made from high-strength aluminum alloy. Size: 4.9 feet, 8.2 feet, fully enclosed, designed to deceive visual suspicion. The target now was not the whole group, but oversized solitary boars with aggressive behavior. Those are the individuals posing the most immediate threat to nearby residents. Around 2 a.m., a giant boar appeared. Estimated weight: nearly 660 pounds. It stepped inside cautiously, then began devouring the fermented corn bait. The trap was triggered. The beast was locked inside. It slammed wildly against the aluminum walls, creating violent metallic crashes. The final solution was deployed: the circular elevated trap. Diameter: 32.8 foot frame. Heavy tubular steel covered with ultra-durable mesh. The entire system was suspended 3.9 feet above the ground by electric winch cables. Its open design made the boars drop their guard. We spread fermented grain in a wide circle beneath the center of the trap. At the transition zone between the hills and town, the giant black trap finally showed movement. Around 10 boars entered in a crowded rush. They shoved, competed, and fed greedily, completely unaware that the trap was already waiting above them. Once the entire group was inside, I pressed the remote trigger. The steel frame dropped free. The system locked instantly. The whole sounder was contained inside the circular barrier.